talking about the Ivan Milat. Did you know that he had a nephew who thought that Ivan was the coolest guy ever? Did you know about this kid?
So I was like Beavis and Butthead with that guy.
Oh, whoa, it's Todd.
It's Todd.
Todd's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yes.
So his cousin was like, yo, Ivan's cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ivan kicked that hooker in the mouth. Yes.
Yes. So there's this. He has the way I understood it is his great grandnephew. His name was Matthew. Unfortunately. Yeah. So unfortunately, his name was Matthew, and he adopted the last name Milat. That wasn't his real last name. So he calls himself Matthew Milat, and at age 17, he was he admired Ivan. He's like, oh my God, he's so awesome. You see what he did?
That boy is now known as Marshall Mathers, Eminem.
Yeah, correct. The Australian Eminem.
Little old Matt Malott.
Correct.
Making it big time.
So he had a group of friends that he hung out with, and they just doing regular stuff. The kids got into. They weren't too crazy, but he was. His other friends, after this went down and were questioned, then hindsight being 2020, they said, yeah, you know what? Now that you think about it, he did kind of freak me out a little bit because he's always playing with his switchblade knife, for example. What happened was they took their close friend, David. I can't pronounce it. I apologize, but I'm going to try it. David Octoloni. It was his birthday. It was David's birthday, his 17th. And they're like, hey, Dave, we're going to take you out. We're going to go get high, and we're going to party out in the Belanglo State Forest, which, as we all know, that's where his great uncle Ivan did his killings. They went out to that state forest, and they got high. Everything was going along great. One of the people in the group tricks David into getting out of the car. I think they were saying something to the effect of, like, I need you to help me get something out of the trunk, I believe is how it was phrased. It's your birthday surprise. It's in the trunk. I need you to help me get it out. Something to that effect. David was reluctant, but he's like, whatever, you guys bother me, pester me about this. You're so annoying, guys. So he gets out of the vehicle, goes to the back. At the back, that's where Matthew Milat's waiting. Matthew Milat strikes him with a medieval axe, a double-sided medieval axe. Okay?
Medieval?
Yeah, so it's a two-handed axe. It's the one that they use if you ever watch a movie and you see, like, they're going to decapitate. Decapitation. When they do the decapitation for the execution, it's that. So it's the one that has the two blades on each side, and they use it at the executioner uses it. One of the kids in the group of four uses his cell phone to start recording the incident. Now, they say recording the incident. I don't know if it was just audio. I suspect it was just audio. It might be audio and video, but they played the audio at the trial. For 10 minutes, they're torturing. Matthew Milat is torturing this kid, saying things to the effect of, like, you don't ever cross me. This is what happens. Say you're sorry. Apologize for your betrayal. Just a bunch of weird stuff. Like if you were like, I almost said The Godfather. The show on HBO, The Gangsters. The Sopranos. Like if you're Tony Soprano. So he's like kind of talking like he's Tony Soprano, saying that kind of stuff. Like, oh, you've been disloyal, you betrayed me, and all this stuff. And David has no idea what the hell he's talking about. He's like, what do you talk betray you? What do you mean? I don't even know what you, because Matthew was making all of this up. He just wanted to play out this fantasy, is what it came out to be. There was actually no betrayal that happened at all. He was doing this because he wanted to live out this weird fantasy, right? And kill somebody. So he wound up brutalizing him, striking him repeatedly with this axe until he was pleading for his life, and then he severed his head. And it was all recorded. One of the kids, one in the group of four, was kind of saying, hey, don't do that, stop it, you shouldn't do that, but he never actually got up and tried to physically stop the attack. So, but once it went to trial, he actually got, I think, leniency, and I think he didn't really have to. I don't think he served any time, and if he did, it was extremely minimal, just like maybe a slap on the wrist kind of thing, probation or whatever. The other guys got convicted. And then Matthew Malott got convicted for 43 years in prison. Okay, so he gets 43 years in prison.
That needs to be out in like 8 years, right? Australian law.
I don't know. I don't think
know either, but some of those
he is a malott, and the Australians do not like the malotts at all. They are the dirtiest family in Australia.
Yeah, but they let Mark Chopper Reed right back.
Mark Chopper Reed is not a dirty
malott.
Listen.
He's not
Mark
as
Chopper
dirty
Reed
as
is awesome.
He's not as dirty as the dirtiest boomerang lickers.
Listen, Mark Chopper Reed is not a boomerang licker.
Oh,
Mark Chopper Reed is a treasure. Okay, he is a treasure. He's an icon. And I will not have you besmirch his good name, sir. All right? Mark Chopper Reed is awesome.
He's a saint.
He is a saint amongst saints, for the love of God. And do never, ever lump him in with a dirty malott. All right? There was a malott brother, Boris. Do you know about Boris Malott?
No, I don't.
Did you know that there's one malott who doesn't want to be a malott and thinks that, man, these malotts are just freaking weird?
Yeah, there's one of the black sheeps who's like, I got to get out of here and live kind of a normal life.
Yes.
And I have no association with my family.
Correct.
Yeah, so.
That's Boris. My boy Boris. All right? So Boris, when all this was going down with Ivan getting arrested and going to trial and all that nonsense, Boris was the one brother who came forward and said, my family is so weird. They probably all did it. Wasn't me, though. I definitely had nothing to do with it.
When you talked about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre earlier, and like I'm thinking a weird family living in the middle of this house, and Leatherface and his brother and his dad and a grandpa, and I'm like, yeah, lots could be little Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a little bit.
For sure.
Some weird family living out in the middle of nowhere.
For sure.
Running down backpackers and murdering them and chopping people's heads off with medieval violence weapons.
Had to be a medieval chainsaw. But Boris, he was like, yo, my family is messed up. And I wouldn't put it past Ivan to have done this, right? And my family needs to come to the realization that he is guilty, and they have to finally admit it, because his family to this point has been like, no, the guy's innocent. He was framed by those evil cops.
Yeah.
Right? Boris went so far as to change his own last name because he was ashamed of the connotations and the association of the killings and the Malott family name. All right? How weird was the Malott family? It was this weird. So when they were young, one of the brothers started having a relationship with one of the ex-girlfriends of one of his other brothers. And then when he talked to his father about it, the father said, well, you know what you got to do now, right? And he's like, what's that, father? He goes, you got to murder your brother. It's the only way you can be with it. Or else.
Are you sure, father?
I'm sure. So he said the father later on changed his mind. But I mean, that was his knee-jerk reaction. Hey, Dad, I'm in love with one of my brother's girlfriends. What should I do? You got to murder him. Like, what?
Seems so harsh, father.
It's not harsh. You're soft. That's the problem. Anyway, Richard and Bill convinced Caroline. So Caroline was the one that married Bill. Caroline is a naive sister-in-law of Ivan who married his brother Bill. Okay? She believes anything that the brothers tell her or that Ivan tells her. Ivan will call her up on the phone. Well, when he was alive in prison, he would call her up like once a week and talk to her. There was a 60 Minutes Australia piece where they're at her house and she's talking to him on the phone. He's in prison. And she's like, Ivan, you have to tell me, did you do it? Did you do these horrible, horrible things that they said you did, Ivan? And then Ivan says to her, no, I didn't do it. No, not at all. And she's like, oh, thank you, Ivan. Oh, thank you. I didn't think you did. She is so naive. How naive is she? Remember when I told you that the police found all the dead backpackers' gear, or a lot of the dead backpackers' gear, on their properties, including her and Bill's property, all right? Her husband, Bill. She asked Bill about it. Bill, how did we come to have these dead backpackers' items in our yard? Bill said to her, oh, honey, the police, they planted all this here because they don't like us malotts. And then she said, oh, that sounds good to me. That sounds perfectly plausible. She believes it. Right? Now, the brother, Richard, Boris says Richard definitely had nothing to do with it. And it's odd because Richard is the one guy, when you look at this clan of malotts, he's the one guy that looks exactly like the kind of guy who would definitely have something to do with it. He's not that intelligent. He is extremely shady in the interviews. He's, you got to see how he acts, but right, there's no proof. There's no proof. Going back to the investigators who believe, not all of them do, but so many investigators who believe that there were at least two killers. He looks up to Ivan. He's Ivan's younger brother. He looks up to Ivan, and I could definitely see it would be like an Ivan and Richard like team serial killer thing going on where they're doing this. But I just wanted to point that out, is that Richard Milat comes off as a very, very sketchy guy, even though Boris, who I trust, says that he's definitely not guilty.
That's like the DeFeo murders, right? No, not the DeFeo murders.
That's Amityville.
The other ones where they were like cousins, the Hillside Stranglers. They were cousins.
But they were two of the kind. Like, what's that friggin' show? They're cousins. They're two of a kind.
With Balky Bartokomous?
Yeah, that one. No, it was like from the 1960s or something. I want to say Doris Day comes to mind.
Oh, I don't know.
But it doesn't matter. Patty Duke Show. That's what it was.
Oh,
it's the Patty Duke Show. It has nothing to do with Australian backpack murders.
Google that. Patty Duke Show.
Yeah. If you like true crime, you're gonna love the Patty Duke Show.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting back to the Wolf Creek and the parallels with the real life thing.
The crimes.
Yeah, the real life crimes. In part 2, there was a decapitation scene, and it was disgusting.
Yeah,
how you describe that?
That was pretty rough. He just saws the German guy's head off with his buck knife in front of his girlfriend, fiance, or whatever she is.
Correct.
Yeah, and it takes a good 10 seconds or so. It's not. He slashes his throat, then has him bent over and is pulling the knife through from the front of his neck to the back of his spine.
Correct.
And he pulls his head off right in front of the other lady.
And then he picks up the head and he says something stupid like
Freddy Krueger's it somehow.
He Freddy Krueger's it. Yes, correct. Yeah. He's like, oh, don't lose your head, or some crap,
where's
right?
bourbon?
Yeah. So now I watched the movie and I was like, I like horror movies. He likes horror. It's one of the things we enjoy is horror movies, right?
Search for horror movies.
A lot of people love horror movies, okay? And so we're, just like anybody else who's a fan of horror films, we watched it and we're like, oh, that was pretty freaking awesome. That's pretty cool, right? We can separate fiction from real life. We're not like, oh my God, it's awesome that it happened to somebody really. No, it's terrible that happens to somebody in real life. And unfortunately, it actually did happen to somebody in real life in this Malott case. One of the victims of the backpacker murders the police said, was severed in a fashion that was depicted in the movie Wolf Creek 2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like, ugh. Once I found that, I'm like, oh my God.
And the knife in the spine.
The knife in the spine, yes.
Now you're just a head on a stick or whatever.
Correct.
He tells people just a head out there, just a head on a stick.
It's good. That's a good point. Yes.
But yeah, the movie I'm thinking, forgetting what I'm going to say.
Well, the knife in the spine. Don't want to go too far away from that. Let's hold that for a second. So the knife in the spine thing. That's another good point. So because in the movie that was a thing that was one of his signature moves. They did it at least a couple of times in the first two movies. And I'm sure he probably did more in a series. In real life, the knife in the spine thing was a thing that was happening to the victim, to some of the victims, and the police did theorize that it was most likely a strike meant to first immobilize the victims before the torture session began. So,
yeah, like when I referred back to the grinder, like grinding the finger down. That's to show you how gruesome it really is. Like,
yes.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the knife in the spine, turning somebody in the head on a stick.
Yes.
This is, and how long it takes to cut the head off. Those are the things like when you're saying like reality versus this, like how gruesome the imagery is. That's to show you how bad it is to really, when you murder people, like how horrifying it really looks like. As it's just back to your point, saying what you're saying, like the difference between reality and movie.
And the other thing about Ivan Milat was he was unrepentant. Not only did he deny it to the very day he died, is that he came down with a case of terminal cancer. And the authorities said, you know what? Maybe now we can get Ivan Milat to finally say, I did it. Yeah, it was me. I know I denied it all these years, but it was me because death was knocking, right? Maybe he wanted to clear his conscience. So they go in with the victims' families. They had recorded an audio tape of the victims' families like pleading with Ivan to please just admit that you did it, and also talking about their loved ones who died at his hands and how it made them feel, how their lives were destroyed and stuff like that. And they played this for Ivan when he's in prison. What did Ivan do? He pretended to go to sleep. Like he just, this is so boring. I'm just going to go to sleep. So he closed his eyes as the police were playing the tape, pretended to go to sleep. And then he said, I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, but said something to the effect of, I don't know why you're bothering to play that because I don't care about these people, right? That means nothing to me. And that was it. He never admitted to it. And however, there was one person, I think it was Boris Milan, who said that he talked to his mother before the mother died. The mother died before Ivan did. And he said that he talked to his mother one day, and his mother was upset. And he goes, what happened, Mom? And he goes, I talked to Ivan. He goes, in prison. He goes, I talked to Ivan. He goes, oh, you did. And he knew what it was. You could tell because his mom always steadfastly believed that her son was framed and was innocent. And Boris said in the interview, with I think it was, again, 60 Minutes Australia, it might be. Mm-hmm. And Boris said, it was at that point that I knew that she had finally gotten a confession from Ivan. So he said that he said to his mom, what did he say? He said that he killed all those people. Oh, my God, And so that is not admissible in court. This is all hearsay. Mm-hmm. And the person who supposedly got the phone call had already died by this point that Boris told the story. I wanted to point out one thing, though. Now, I'm all on Team Boris because Team Boris is like, yes, our family is crazy and all this stuff, and Ivan's guilty, and we need to accept it so the country can heal. This is the kind of thing he would say. But then I started thinking, I'm like,
he said so the country could heal?
Well, yeah, this. There's only like 30 people who live in Australia, and Ivan Milat killed like 10% of the population.
That just sounded like something Barack Obama would say or something.
No, but he did say that because this was a huge thing. This is, I don't know how to, what would be the equivalent of in America with the killing thing of Columbine, for example, or Sandy Hook. The nursery school, right? Or the preschools. It was like elementary school.
Elementary school.
I think it was Sandy Hook. Yeah, so it would be the equivalent of Sandy Hook happening, right? That's going to shake the entire nation because how barbaric it is. This was the same thing in Australia. It's like, whoa, what the hell's going on here? It's crazy. But I started thinking about Boris, and I'm like, man, what if Boris was like Kaiser Soze?
He's the mastermind.
And he was the mastermind of all of this. I don't believe that, by the way. I think Boris is completely innocent.
He's masquerading in the background, killing all these people. And it's like, oh no, my brothers are crazy.
Yes.
They're so totally crazy.
So I'm pointing that out only for the creators of the Wolf Creek franchise. I'm saying, you know what? Maybe you can draw some inspiration and have like Mick Taylor's brother.
The brothers Malott.
In one of the new movies or TV shows. And like, it's like you introduce a new character and he's actually the one that's the mastermind. But everything we've seen so far has just been like movies within the universe of Wolf Creek. Like, oh, what are you talking about? Those Wolf Creek movies? Oh, that's all a bunch of nonsense. That Mick Taylor never killed anybody. You know what I mean? And they could play it up and extend the franchise. And the last thing I want to say was John Jarratt, who played Mick Taylor.
Yes.
He went through his own nightmare where he was accused of sexually assaulting a woman way back in the day when he was, I guess, out of college, or maybe he was still in college at the time. It was a very young man, okay? It was like 30 years ago, I believe. And he had already gone to court, thank God. It's all done and over with. But he let 60 Minutes Australia, or it was a CBS. It might have been CBS, actually. He let one of the networks follow him for a year as he fought this court case. Because he's like, yeah, I'm innocent. I'm getting these. It was during the Me Too thing a couple of years ago. So he got caught up in a Me Too thing. And he was able to go to court and successfully prove his innocence, and that these allegations, these slanderous allegations, were nothing more than that. They're unfounded. The lady who accused him was proven to be making up these stories with the evidence that was brought up in court. She was so traumatized that she took the job offers. He helped her get jobs on movie sets, and she happily took the jobs and was happily hugging him in photographs and happily attending parties on his behalf and
you
stuff.
told me this already.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
I didn't remember until you started telling me the details now. I'm like, I remember you said something about it, but when you started getting into details, like, oh yeah.
Oh, it was absolutely insane. They played the footage, and the lady was sitting there.
They didn't do anything, so
saying one thing, and then they would counter her with the actual videotape proof of this isn't true what you just said, and then it's, okay. So thank God our boy John Jarratt, he is innocent. Anybody who goes around telling you he's guilty, just school him, man. The guy's innocent. Wolf Creek is awesome. The Ivan Milat, I would say that Ivan Milat is definitely a boomerang liquor. I think that possibly Richard Malott and Bill Malott are also boomerang lickers, even though they were not proven.
Matthew Malott's definitely a boomerang licker, too.
Matthew Malott is a huge boomerang licker, and he's probably licking a lot of boomerangs in prison right now, which unfortunately I actually heard that he's sort of a hero in Australian prison. Not even kidding you. But because of the crime that he did, apparently in the social strata of the Australian prison system, if you murder somebody with an axe, they look up to you, because that's the latest I heard, is that Matthew Malott is looked up to in prison as a hero. It's disgusting, but he's a freaking dirty boomerang licker.
With an axe.
Boris is not a boomerang licker. Boris, I think, is a great guy, and I feel sorry for him. Mark Chaparrita is not a boomerang licker. Okay, and then we have one more. We have Bradley John Murdoch. I know we didn't go into too much detail, but his DNA was found on Joanne Lees' shirt. There is confusion as to how the DNA got there. It could either be from him interacting with her, trying to tie her up and moving her to the back of his truck, or there's another theory that was brought up by his defense saying that the DNA could have been left in the booth at the cafe that they both were at.
Yeah, tell me that too.
Yeah. So Joanne and her fiance were in there previous, and then he came in next, could have sat at the same booth and picked up the DNA. So that's a possibility. And let's see. And the conspiracy theory about Peter Falconio still being alive and just wanting to get away from his girlfriend, Joanne Lees. How did that get started? Because one dodgy malacker in Australia claimed to have seen Peter Falconio sitting in a diner after this was a big news story, and on the front page of the newspaper was his photograph saying, like, British tourists missing, presumed dead, killer arrested, or something to the effect. And then he said, I was sitting there, and I was reading the paper, and got a tap on me shoulder, and the waitress was like, "Oi, look at your newspaper here, and then look at that bloke right there." And I did, and it was Peter Falconio. He was sitting right in front of me, he was. He's alive, right? So that's how that conspiracy theory got started. One dodgy malacker making crap up, that's all it takes, right? And then before you know, it's a flat earth. So, Boomerang Liquors. Yeah. Oh, well, what Mick Taylor? Fictitious character Mick Taylor. Is he a Boomerang Liquor? It's fiction.
I would think, well, fictionally.
Fictionally, he's a Boomerang Liquor, but
Yes,
it's
but
just a
not
movie.
real-
It's just a movie, right? So, say probably not a Boomerang Liquor.
He's an amalgamation of separate Boomerang Liquors made into a fictional form.
But his amalgamation of separate Boomerang Liquors made into a fictional character villain, I think that he transcends and is not a Boomerang Liquor, even though he's comprised of Boomerang Liquors.
He is cool. Yeah, he's kind of cool.
Yeah, Mick Taylor is cool.
He is kind of cool.
That is. I think that's a good place to wrap. Do you have anything else you want to say about the Wolf Creek franchise, the backpack killings?
Yeah, I had some say about stuff you were saying. There's a lot of Italianos or Falconios.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Octavios.
I noticed that as well. Yeah.
I noticed all these Italian names. Mr. Florentino.
Yeah. Correct.
I know there's such a mass.
In England. And that is England. Those are all English people that I mentioned. The Falconio and the other one.
A lot of Italian names. So
you know what? I apologize. There was the David Octoloni was an Australian. I apologize. David Octoloni was an Australian, but the Falconio was England, and that could be chalked up to some like World War II. After the war was over, maybe a British soldier fell in love with an Italian woman and then had, a few generations later, Peter Falconio. I don't know. But yeah, definitely for an Englishman to be named Falconio, it is kind of like...
There's a lot of Italian names popping up in the same storyline.
Correct, yeah.
Probably a bunch of mobsters or something, killing people in the outback.
I guess maybe probably not though. Okay, I think that we should probably wrap it up. It's been a good episode. Hopefully,
I think it's long. I think it's a good spot to wrap it up. I don't think you got to go into details about stuff, except for mobsters running around trying to shoot people in the outback woods with a bunch of Falconios running around.
Oh my God! All right, don't be a Boomerang Liquor. Until next time.